We potentially need radical change. I don't know how we're going to do it. And guess what? We're both going to be dead as a fucking doornail by the day it becomes a huge problem. This is the thing that I worry about. I think about this all the time.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Oops, the podcast. Giulio Gallerati, your pal and confidant. I'm sitting here with my trusty apprentice, Ryan Lynch.
Giulio.
Ryan's son.
Can I say that?
Good to see you. Yeah, sure. Ryan's son, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Looking good. We are deep in January. We are ripping it. Be sure to come see me on the 18th in Phoenix, the Desert Ridge Improv. Looking forward to that. I know there's been people who've been making calls for Gallerati to hit the Pacific Southwest for a while. So this is your time to shine. All right, I'm coming. You better be coming too. Looking forward to it. That'll be a big one. Then I have 2 shows at Mic Drop Comedy in San Diego. I've heard that both of these places are great, so I'm really excited to see you guys there. Then the 1st of February, Ryan Lynch will be opening for me in Stamford, Connecticut. I'm very much looking forward to that. New York Comedy Club Stamford. Come check that out. And then finally, taping my special the 16th of February at the Den Theater in Chicago. If there are some tickets left, please buy them because we're getting pretty close to selling it all out. I'm pretty psyched about it. So
we're going to
pull
that.
up.
I'm pumped for that.
You're coming through to that too?
Yes, sir.
Fuck to the yeah, dude.
Yes, sir.
I know
Chicago.
you mentioned it before, but I wasn't 100% sure and I didn't want to hold you to it.
Got our plane tickets last night.
Wow. Let's go.
Hell yeah, dude.
Dude, can't wait. That's going to rule. And guys, tonight and through this entire weekend, I'm going to be in the Tampa and St. Pete area performing at the Sunshine Comedy Festival. The first ever. It's a great lineup. Tons of comedians, great comedians from all over the country. It's going to be really fun. I'm really excited for it. You can get tickets at sunshinecomedyfest.com. Use promo code Giulio for the discount. Don't forget that's GIULIO. Since it's amazing how many people don't know how to spell my name, even people who are supporters. I've just accepted the fact that it's a difficult name. Don't hold it against you. But GIULIO if you want to get a discount. So I'm really looking forward to being here all weekend. Hit me up if you're around and you want to come to the show or you want to hang out or whatever. Let me know. So here we are. And on last episode, I promised that I would refer back to something that we were talking about in regard to diet, whatever, bullshit. But I love watching I've been really interested in like longevity and just like, you know, little stuff you can do, biohacking, ways that you can like live a healthier, happier life. You know what I mean? And a lot of that, and I know it's a hot topic right now that the gut fuels your brain and whatever, but I'm interested in all that shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? More so from even looking good, I'm more interested in feeling good. And I think I noticed that when I first discovered like yoga for the first time, and I don't do yoga that often, but when I went because I thought it would be good for me physically, and I was amazed at how good it made me feel in my brain. And you know, for the same reasons that I think meditation is supposed to be good for you, blah, blah, blah. Having that space in your brain to enjoy your day, that's really valuable to me. I struggle sometimes. Now we were also talking about this sort of you being your own obstacle, you being the biggest hurdle for one's success, getting out of your own way, defeating yourself effectively, right? You versus you. I find that making my brain function the right way can be a challenge for myself. But when I'm able to, I'm amazed at my output and like what I can do, the things that I can accomplish. So I want to be in that state as often as possible. So I'm interested in all this shit. That is to say, I've been watching this thing on Netflix. I have not finished it, but it's a pretty cool show that talks about like food and the food industry, sustainability, all that shit. But they also cover this experiment they do where they give twins different diets so they can examine differences in whatever, right? They do it for 8 weeks. But the thing that's interesting about it, why using twins is sort of a groundbreaking or a differing or more specific thing, is because people's body compositions are so different that eating the same shit will not impact different people the same, right? So it's interesting to get to take twins who are more similar than people can be otherwise, you know what I mean? And to run the experiment specifically on those 2 twins versus each other during the same period of time, doing the same shit or whatever. So I think it seems pretty interesting to me, and it is in practice.
It's really
too.
cool.
Watching the thing is cool. Did that make sense though?
Yeah,
like
that makes sense.
Okay, so
the whole show focused on
Just these twins?
No. So there's 4 or 5 sets of twins.
Oh, wow.
One of them eats a plant-based diet only. One of them eats a meat diet. And it's not necessarily just a like anti-meat, anti-dairy diet or documentary. It's not just one of those. But a lot of the stuff that they talk about is stuff that I haven't seen covered in some of these other ones. Now, I'm not a person who ever intends to like fully give up meat. I do, and I never intend to really give it up in any capacity at all. But it is interesting to think about the idea of meat consumption and whether or not we need to eat as much of it as we do. And just thinking about that, it's just food for thought. Interesting stuff. And I like the idea of eating healthier and eating a diet that makes me feel good. So whatever. So they do a good job at doing a juxtaposition between a general sort of take on all of that stuff, whether it's how meat production adds so much to global warming and emissions and blah, blah, blah. If we want to hit our carbon zero thing, that would be an easy way to do it. All that shit, talking about all that stuff and then showing the experiment also. It's a few episodes. I've only watched one, but I really enjoyed it. So I recommend that if you're into that kind of shit. One thing that they cover too that I haven't seen much about is they're called CAFOs. It's some sort of, can you look up what that is? It's an acronym. It's some sort of like confined animal feeding something. I don't know exactly what it means, but something like that.
Concentrated animal feeding operations.
Got it.
CAFOs.
Cool. So they show these giant areas where this insane amount of animals are feeding, and then they eventually kill them and blah, 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 blah. They're getting them ready to be slaughtered and brought to the stores. So they talk about all the standard shit that we all know about. They're all in such close proximity. They're eating too much. The genetic modifications, like chickens' breasts are too big, they can't walk, all stuff that we already know about, right? That's sad. But the scale, they really cover the scale of these operations well in a way that's fascinating. And they also show where all the excrement goes in some of them. And dude, the pig CAFOs are crazy. There are these giant pools. They kind of look red. It almost looks like blood, but it's just all shit.
Is this it?
Yeah. It's gross.
I was hoping this wasn't it.
Dude, and like it's so bad that sometimes like the animals won't even go outside. Like the smell is so bad that it can like fuck you up. And the thing that sucks is like to get rid of it, what they'll do is they'll spray it onto fields. And I don't know if it's supposed to be like manure or if it's just like they're spraying it onto fields. But what'll happen is like the liquid shit basically and piss will get caught in the wind and like end up in people's yards. Or like if you have like a clothes hanger, like shit will get, like animal shit will get on your clothes and stuff. It's like really fucked up. And some of these people have owned this property from before these CAFOs were even there. And of course it's like a lot of the time poor areas where the people don't have as much power over sort of setting the political agenda of the area. And like there's nothing they can do, whatever. But it's really fucking gnarly and gross.
So this is, I'll put the picture in the video
It's a giant
form of the
lake
podcast.
of shit.
That's shit, or is that blood, or is that shit and blood?
It's shit and piss. I don't think it's even blood.
Is it any body parts?
I don't think so. I think it's just. So anyway, dude, like basically,
Wow.
and the fishing stuff, all the stuff we already know about. And to be honest, dude, I'm not on any sort of like crusade about this. Like, you know, I agree with the stuff they're saying. It doesn't make me think everybody on Earth should be plant-based. Doesn't necessarily make me think much. I'm sure there's another perspective that would sort of debunk a lot of the stuff that they talk about in all these documentaries potentially. Like I'm objective and open-minded about that. I'm not just immediately like, we should be plant-based. But it's just interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting to see that. It's interesting to see experiments where people are healthy and to see what that can do for them. It kind of gives me inspo.
Yeah.
So anyway, I recommend that.
When you grocery shop, are you willing to spend a little extra on meat and ingredients that are treated a little bit better?
So
like pasture raised chickens for eggs?
Pasture. So dude, I don't know. You know what I mean? Cause like they even say like the free range chicken thing means that it has like 18 inches to run around.
Yeah, that's a
or
marketing term. That's like a BS marketing term. But
right.
I think pasture raised is
pasture.
I think pasture raised is.
You're saying pastor,
I know.
which is funny. It's like if a priest raised the chicken,
it'd probably be a really nice situation for them. But I think that's the best situation for the chickens in which you can support them and getting the eggs. But I don't taste the difference. I try to taste the difference.
Right. So so I don't know that you'd be able to taste it, but I think it would be, the chances are the chicken maybe is, I don't even fucking know, bro. Like it's less likely to be filled with a bunch of bacteria because it's not going to be on top of a bunch of disease and shit. And like, they also make this point in the documentary, and this made sense to me because you cook meat. So like it doesn't matter as much, but it was saying that like most meat in the supermarket has carcinogens in it. So like there's E. coli and salmonella in most meat, but that's why you cook it. And that's why we're all very aware that like you make sure chicken is cooked all the way through because you don't want to get all the bacteria. You cook it, you kill it. So like that's not that big of a deal to me. Maybe I'm missing something. But I like the idea of eating stuff that isn't disgusting, and maybe there's no way around that. I'm not going to constantly be thinking about it, but I also know that if it was going to be to feed the demand with especially in the US, like apparently our consumption is like really, really high in general. And I'm not just saying this because I just watched this documentary. I've watched a few of these, whatever. We would all have to stop eating so much meat and in general because there wouldn't be enough land really to support this like pasture, open, free farming situation that would be so great or whatever. And at the end of the day, meat is pushed on us because it's good for the industry. I think that's not like a conspiracy theory. I think that's part of it, like protein, this and that. Like there's actually laws that say that you're not allowed to encourage people to eat less meat. The only thing they'll tolerate is saying that you shouldn't eat too much saturated fat.
Really?
There's actual rules about that. Yeah. So that is true. And look, I'm not willing to give up meat, and this might sound stupid and like antiquated or whatever, but like I think that a man needs to fucking eat meat, dude.
Yeah.
That works for me. Like if I were to never eat meat, I wouldn't like that. But I do like the idea of not eating an insane amount of it. Like I don't think that I need to be. So I don't know. But all I think is that all the stuff they say sounds great. I just don't know how the fuck we would ever do it.
Dude, I've never thought of protein as propaganda.
Propaganda.
Potential protein propaganda.
PPP, that's another PPP.
Form of PPP. Never thought about that, but that's interesting. That's always like, I mean, that's what sells me on buying anything.
Yeah.
This has 11 grams of protein. This little bar has 11 grams of protein. Never thought about that. How like, it's like a little bit of a, what did you say that the big companies are pushing?
Yeah, I think there's some sort of thing about it. But listen, I don't think it's some sort of, it's not, they compared it to smoking in this documentary. I just like can't agree with that comparison unless there is some sort of statistic to support it. But they were saying how most diseases are related to people being fat and overeating and whatever, fine. But it's more black and white with smoking, it seems. It seems like if you smoke a fuck ton of cigarettes, you're going to get cancer. Whereas if you eat meat, it doesn't guarantee you're going to get colon cancer. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I get that there's increased risk and there's increased risk for all sorts of stuff like artery, heart problems, whatever. But like everything in moderation. But I don't think smoking in moderation is good. Mm-hmm. Like as far as I'm concerned, it's not that cool to compare those two things. But whatever. I get the point of doing it. But this all makes sense to me. You know, it's like we don't maybe have to eat as much meat. I don't know. But to your point, am I willing to spend a little extra money for wild caught fish? Some days. Other days I don't give a fuck. Other days I got my head too far up my own ass to think about that. Mm-hmm. And I think, that's what's tough. The world that we live in makes it difficult to attack our sort of climate goals, right? We potentially need radical change. I don't know how we're going to do it. And guess what? We're both going to be dead as a fucking doornail by the day it becomes a huge problem. Now, I know people would say, okay, well, there's already extreme weather things happening and there's already fine. I get it. I know that's true. But like my day-to-day life, chances are I could never think about this again and it wouldn't affect me. It might not affect me for the rest of my life. There's a chance of that. Mm-hmm. Given what lame duck things they're putting in place right now. This is a thing that I worry about. I think about this all the time. I have that sort of existential fear of like the planet is heading in a bad direction and it worries me. So I'm not saying that I don't believe in it. I'm just saying there is a chance that this will not impact us much. Mm-hmm. And what a nice thing to be able to say. And it may not even be true. Okay. But straight up, the planet may become uninhabitable because of it. How crazy is that to think of? And not that far down the line. But still, it seems unlikely that it'll happen in our lifetime. If there's any environmentalists or anybody who can add to this, would love to hear it. I certainly believe in global warming. You know what I mean? I think it's a real thing. But it is also interesting to see, you're like, oh, it's cars. And you're like, oh, it's pigs. All right, it's pigs. Mm-hmm. Oh, the oceans. Oh, it's overfishing. Oh, and that documentary, the Morgan Freeman narrated one, Life on Our Planet, I think it's called. It's like a combination of they do renderings of the past and present, whatever. He made the point that they make the point in that it's all of it. All of those things are increasing to the temperature rising in an unprecedented way that the history of our planet has never seen, right? So it may not happen tomorrow. And look, 100 years in our lifetime, that's our entire life. That's our entire world. But in terms of the life of the planet, 100 years is such a short period of time to be making that kind of impact, where millions of years have gone by and different waves of life living, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it's something that I think about. And I would love to live in a society where it made sense to change that. Because how do you change, dude? How do you change it, bro?
Well, change what?
So how do you?
What can you change?
Okay, so say that you took away fossil fuels, and so you do that, right? You take away gas as like a primary means of whatever. That's expensive, right? Like that's a cheap way. The way that we like fuel things is a cheap way to do it a lot of the time. So clean energy, it's expensive. There's all this regulations. You need to build specific things for it. You need to do this and that. The transition is difficult to, where do you get the money to do it? And especially in these societies where people are poor and shit, like these people are just worried about eating. They don't care about pollution and litter and whatever. Like it's a luxury to be able to worry about this. That's sad. But that's just the reality of a world we live in, where like economic growth fuels prosperity and fuels having like a better life, right? You have a robust economy, your government can pay for social programs, whatever, right? So like the system that we have in place also promotes making the planet too hot. You're telling people they need cars, they need this, they need that. Everybody's driving cars. We're eating a ton of meat, which supports the industry, which supports farmers, which makes people money, which allows people to make money. So there's all these different situations that we've carved out in our society for different groups of people to have a way to live a sustainable life for themselves, where they can live and support their families, where money matters, right? So how do you just take that system and flip it on its head in order to curb emissions? What a challenge. The person who figures that out will be a hero. And I hope we can do it. You know what I mean? This net zero thing, but it just seems and feels unrealistic.
Times are tough right now, Giulio.
They are.
Going to the movies is expensive. Going out to dinner is expensive. You got to make your own fun, even at home.
You sure do.
Victoria and I, every Sunday is laundry day, and we're cleaning all of our clothes.
Oh, nice.
And one of my favorite things to do is after we do our underwear load, I put on my polka dot MeUndies underwear, and I jump on the couch and I do a little dance for Victoria, and I just do 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 do.
Does she enjoy that?
She loves it.
She
She
loves
is
it.
just like a sea otter. She's like, I love it. I love it. And the best thing about it is that it's just fun. And I'm wearing polka dot underwear. I'm wearing underwear with polar bears on them or dinosaurs. MeUndies has all the fun props
They do.
in the design of their underwear, so you can have a good time. And most importantly, and obviously, they are the most comfortable pair of underwear on the market. So we always have a good
100%.
time with them. You can find your fun with MeUndies.
You betcha. You will always have funderwear.
Funderwear.
Me underwear.
That's wonderful.
That's wonderful. Fun. Me
Underful.
fundies.
Underful.
Fiundi. Yeah, okay. We were on to something there, but then we
Okay.
slowly lost it.
That's okay. You
But
get the point.
You
MeUndies are great.
guys get the point. And I will say this too, dude. Like some of the brands that I used to go to for underwear in the past, what would always happen, and I don't know if this happens to you guys. I kind of have big legs for a boy. You know what I'm talking about? And what'll happen is the insides of my underwear will start to bunch up toward, they all converge in the middle. And during that time, I can't tell that if I were to pull those out, they're actually ripped along the insides there. That does not happen with MeUndies. MeUndies are far more durable. I find that they have the perfect amount of stretch and support. I personally love a black boxer brief, but I'm open to some variety as well. Sometimes I'll throw in a really nice colorful one, and I'll walk by my partner and she'll be like, "Ooh, what are those fun boys, honey?"
The Fun Boys?
And I'm like, "Oh, don't worry about it." Yeah,
That is fun.
My bright blue briefs. But yeah, so mix it up, keep it going, but make sure that you have solid underwear on your body. Regardless of what style you're into, MeUndies has got you covered. Kick off the new year comfier than ever and get 20% off of your first order plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/oops. That's MeUndies.com/oops for 20% off plus free shipping. MeUndies, comfort from the outside in.
Elon Musk recently said that nuclear energy
Is
would
clean
be
energy.
like
I've
the
heard that
best
too.
way to solve things. But there's such a stigma. And when I think of nuclear energy, it scares me. It's like a scary, I think of Chernobyl. It's it's scary. I've seen footage of nuclear energy being tested or used in some capacity on Twitter. It's a scary thing. And like if something were to ever go wrong, I don't want to ever find out what the repercussions are. But that seems to be one of the better solutions that we could do today to help tomorrow.
Yeah, I've heard that too. But it's true. It's like the legislation would need to catch up with it in order to like make that be a thing. And look, like people would need to be cool with it. Like you said, there's a bunch of things that would need to go in place to make it all make sense.
And then you think like, I'm speaking out of class here. A lot of like legislators, like they're probably going to be, or big oil companies, they're going to be voting against the implementation of solar or nuclear energy because they want to make the money off of the oil. So I feel like it's a really long battle.
Dude, yeah. It'll
take forever.
You pump less oil. Oil becomes more expensive. People can't afford it. People are pissed. They can't get around. They can't do their shit. Like the economy, like the way that like money running society is set up, and I don't want to sound like I'm not qualified to talk about this topic in depth, but the things that I'm saying are pretty straightforward. The things that we all know to a degree, right? It's like in the society built on economic growth and making money and this and that. How do you change course so dramatically in a way that impacts people's lives on Earth now? Right? You have to it seems like you need to sacrifice the livelihood of large groups of people to ensure that we can sustain, that future generations are able to live on the fucking planet. And it shouldn't have to be an us versus them thing. Whoever figures it out is going to be the most famous person in the world. Deservingly. They'll win every prize. And hopefully, you never know, man. Like right when we get pushed to the brink, it's always amazing to see when good prevails. And hopefully we'll be able to figure all this out. If anybody has any interesting stuff to read or talk about, I'd certainly be curious.
Before anything could really change, wouldn't the government need to be on board with whatever initiative?
So, dude, but this is the thing.
It would be?
Yes, but this isn't just America. This is the whole world. How do you get the entire world to agree? We have the G20 summit, whatever. Everybody gets together. They talk about the future, and it's all a lot of hoopla. We agree to do stuff, and then people back out. Then Trump becomes president. He pulls us out of it. Biden becomes president. He comes back in. If Trump becomes president again this year, we're going to pull back out.
Yes.
Politics dictates too much of it, and the entire world uniting and agreeing on something is really hard to do. Because a lot of these like third world countries that are like in their industrial phase, like production and cheap labor, like those are really dirty businesses sometimes. And it would be hard for those places to change course because their economy depends so much on it. You know what I mean? So like a place like India or like Indonesia or these places like these emerging economies that depend on this sort of like dirty energy to fuel their economies and to fuel making lives better for people in their countries where there's densely populated and not everybody can live a good, healthy, fulfilling life. And that's what we're pushing toward, right? So I will say this, in the documentary, it does say this, that the easiest way to cut the sort of like increase towards this 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is the thing that all the scientists talk about. 1.5 degrees Celsius is the threshold that if we go past it, apparently there's no turning back, whatever. I've been hearing for years people be like, but it's not too late. I'm like, are you sure? Like, you've been saying that for a long time. Like one day I'm scared that I'm going to watch the documentary that's going to be like, it's too late, dude. Sorry. Fuck. So they did say though, that if we were to like curb how the industrial farming, billions of cows shitting CO2, farting, it all going into the air, warming the planet. They say that would be the easiest way to cut it overnight. Supposedly.
Overnight?
That's what some people have said.
So they say.
Now, overnight, what, you're just going to shut down all the meat production of the world, destroy an entire industry, send people into the streets. You know what I mean? So then then that happens, and then there's the politician who's like, oh, like, we're gonna get you meat people back at the meat farm, and I'm gonna everybody popular support. You know what I mean? How do we look beyond our own personal needs today for what's good for everybody forever? I don't know. I don't know the answer to it, dude.
I think there's too many stubborn people in the world.
I
don't think they'd ever adopt a new way of being.
I don't support it.
To fortify the future.
I can't sit here and be like, we should get rid of an entire thing. I don't know. I don't know enough about the reverberations and the repercussions of doing these things. I don't understand enough. You know, I understand a little, but how do we realistically do it? Dude, some of these island countries, and I'm sorry this turned into a global warming conversation, but I hope that this is, I'm curious. I'm not stating anything. I'm just saying what I've heard and what I think, because to me, it's terrifying. It's a really scary, the idea of it is scary. And I know I've said it may not impact me in my lifetime, but it may. And I don't want to be dying on my deathbed, sad about the life that my grandkids might have to live. Like, that's a shitty place to be in. So like, dude, these countries like Tuvalu, Kiribati, the Marshall Islands, like these Pacific Island countries. Now, granted, barely anybody lives in these places, and theoretically you could relocate them. Tuvalu only has 12,000 person population, and they're signing a deal with Australia where Australia will let them come live there. But these places are on pace to be underwater and completely uninhabited in 25 years.
25 years. 2050,
Kiribati, Marshall Islands, and Tuvalu. And there's a bunch of those other countries that are also already being affected by it. Fiji, whatever, Tonga, like these Pacific countries. So, you know, that's immediate. Those people's lives are going to be impacted. And those are already places that have like had tough luck in a lot of ways. So it's happening now. And I wish there was a real solution or real hope to think that we would be able to change course in a way that made sense. Because to me, I don't see how it's even fucking possible.
Yeah. I remember I took a biology course in college, and our professor showed us a video of just like a time lapse into the future as different islands and places would go underwater. And I just pulled it up. Miami's going to be one of the first cities and areas in the United States that's impacted. And it says here that Miami will be 60% underwater by the year 2060.
Wow.
Knock on wood, be around for that.
So dude, there's technology supposedly, and again, this might be just like a rich country thing or whatever, but like they're already trying to come up with ways to like divert that, build up the coastlines, like figure out ways that won't be impactful. So maybe they'll be able to do that there. Like, who knows? There's a lot of time between now and then. And I suspect some brilliant fucking young kid right now is going to come up with some insane thing, which is why, guys, you know, as we start getting older, you got to give respect to the youth. They know shit that you don't know. They think about shit in ways that you can't think. And while they should respect you, it's worth listening to them because a lot of the time, some knucklehead kid is going to be the one who thinks of the thing that saves us all. So
it is interesting. I didn't even think, when I think of like a city going underwater, you just think of like, okay, well, there's nothing we can do about that. That sucks. But like there are solutions that you can come up with. It says that the sea levels in New York City are expected to rise between 8 and 30 inches by the 2050s, and as much as 15 to 75 inches by the end of the century. Like you mentioned, there's probably things that we can do to prepare for the impact, the physical impact of the water rising. There's probably some fairly simple way to make that work.
Hopefully.
Right?
Hopefully, dude.
Ugh.
And that's the thing. So a lot of the times, like I was watching 60 Minutes and they were talking about that you can use CO2 as a power source to power things. So they're experimenting with it in Wyoming. And I want to hear more about this shit, dude. Like, I want to hear about good things that are happening that can make us feel better about the future. Because I get that you're scaring the shit out of all of us and maybe we need that. But can we also talk about the good? developments that are happening, because the more we hear about those, maybe the more we'll be like, yeah, we should do that. You know what I mean?
I'd be more interested in watching the news if there was a couple of like
Yeah, right.
proactive, positive
Nice
things
things.
besides just,
Right.
all this bad stuff that's going on.
Right. That aren't just about firefighters saving a kitten. Like
Yeah.
good news that impacts society.
Like what Giannis said when he was on the pod a few weeks ago. The boy found his ball.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that stuff is like marketed heavily to moms. My mom loves that shit too, the Good News Network.
Oh, yeah.
It's all good stuff. But dude, like apparently they're taking CO2 and they're powering these sort of like tech hubs with it. And it's like working. So it's like, okay, cool. And there were challenges with it, but it would be nice to think that we got shit together in a way. And I don't know the answer or the solution, but if anybody knows anything good, please let us know, because I want to sleep slightly better at night. This is the thing that I worry about.
If any of you work in solar, very curious about why we all aren't on that yet.
So I can maybe help with this. It's not as powerful. Like it's harder to generate the energy that we can get from fossil fuels with solar. It like doesn't even come close. That's why.
There's no way to like store.
Maybe there is. We just have. I don't know that we've thought of it yet. So yeah.
Well, by so solar, sun,
Yeah.
scanning, retaining energy from the sun. Is it because there's not enough places? There's not enough room to store it?
I don't know. Maybe. But I know that like based on the infrastructure and what it would take to make that work, fossil fuels are just like so much easier, cheaper, better, more efficient, but like pollutes. So like I think that's part of the conversation. It's like, okay, if it's gonna pollute, how do we take the pollution and change that? Because I remember I used to think about like I've been learning about how you can actually like burn garbage and use it as power source. Like you can take garbage and dispose of it. I always just pictured in my head that garbage was just accumulating around the world, and that stressed me out. Then I'm like, oh, there's some technology that deals with this to a degree. Oh, that's interesting. Or there's like desalinization plants where you can take salt water and make it into fresh water. It's extremely expensive, but like this technology is all like either existing or starting to pop up, and like maybe that's the first step. Like at first technology is there and it's incredible, but it doesn't make sense because it's too expensive. Okay, let's make it cheaper. That's what happened with the internet. That was a government project. That was a U.S. government project, the internet, that then just turned into the internet. Eventually, it becomes stuff that the public can use too. There's a lot of like technology that was originally, it's called DARPA, a DARPA project.
Oh, DARPA's been, we've looked that
talked
up
about DARPA before.
A couple of years ago, yeah.
So lots of technology. Anyway, but dude, I will say this, and I talked about this in the Afghanistan video. A lot of people, you do use solar power in Afghanistan, but it's just not as good as like good old fashioned electricity. If they're not near a power grid, whatever, like they'll charge their phone with solar power. They'll charge, they can power a house or showers or heat showers with solar power, but it like won't last the whole day or whatever.
Wow.
No, I'm not saying that's not a response to what you're saying, but
Yeah.
people are using it.
12 insane but true DARPA projects.
Yes.
I'll just read a couple. Synthetic blood.
So wait, that's crazy. What does DARPA stand for again?
DARPA stands for the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency.
Okay, so they come up with like crazy big picture ideas that then turn into real things. I think drones were one, like a bunch of stuff. So synthetic blood is something they're working on or that exists?
This is from 2010. So I think these are things that they've all worked on.
Because they're all
at the very least.
declassified. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a couple. Cars for blind people, robot cyborg insects, sensors that can see underground, a flying submarine, mind-controlled artificial arms, a lot of machinery and vehicles.
So I
seem to have
want.
been declassified.
Can you look up this too? Can you look
Yeah.
up things that are now commercially available to people? Because that stuff all
From
sounds great.
DARPA?
Yeah, but I'm curious. I know that the internet was one of them, but there's a bunch of other shit too, and I was always like, "Whoa, that's nuts."
Yeah. As I look this up, it's interesting. You bring up like, okay, like conceptually, let's eliminate, milk. Let's eliminate cows. But you don't think about the logistics and like the global impact of it. I don't think about this stuff that often. Maybe I should a little bit more, but like I didn't even think about how much more difficult it is than just to say, well, we should stop doing this.
Right.
Right.
But yeah, maybe there's something to that, and maybe it would take time, and like I don't know how you negotiate this, but like everybody just eats meat a little less, would that make an impact? I don't know. But yeah, dude, the idea of everybody having to do something, that just takes so long. Like even we recycle now, great. You know what I mean? Is that doing anything? I don't know. I hope so. I've heard that people don't recycle properly, which is just like a waste. Like if you don't clean stuff out before you recycle it, or certain plastics can't be recycled. I don't fucking know. So it's just really hard because all these things seem to require expertise that the average person, including myself, simply just don't have.
Okay, so this is from itpro.com. Number one, these are things that DARPA invented. The internet. So we discussed that. GPS was a DARPA project. Big Dog, which is the Boston Dynamics robot. I think every year they release a video. I think last year they did one where they had a robot go through like a Ninja Warrior type of jungle gym run through, and that was really impressive. I don't know what the application is going to be of them. Cyborg insects. Skimming through here, it looks like it is to deliver GPS signals as faster in places where they don't have great internet connections. Graphical user interface, GUI. So the mouse, the little ball on the mouse.
Oh, wow.
Don't look at the red laser. And Siri.
Wow.
We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it with Siri. Yeah, Siri.
Wow.
Siri was one of their
How cool.
inventions as well. Very
Very
interesting.
fucking cool, man. So anyway, good luck to all of us. I don't know, dude. It's like, and I'm not thinking about this all the time because I'm busy desperately trying to make my crazy life work, which is feels like it's barely happening some days, and other days feels better. But it's been a fun ride either way. But yeah, guys, fucking YOLO. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let us know. You guys, we have a very intelligent Oops family here. So if you have any interesting info or you're familiar with any cool projects, send them our way at oopsthepodcast@gmail.com or shoot us a DM.
Totally.
Love to hear about that.
Dude, I'll tell you what. If I'm having a long editing day, there's nothing like throwing a little pouch in the old lip. And when I'm doing that, I prefer Lucy tobacco-free 100% nicotine pouches. And I'll tell you what, they've stepped their game up with the breakers.
They
Lucy
sure have, dude.
breakers are where it's at, dude. There's a little bit of liquid in there that you actually pop very satisfyingly. Toss it in the old lip. You will feel clean and mean. It will hit you nice and quick, and you will be focused and ready to go. Focused, relaxed. Sometimes you just gotta feed the craving.
Yeah, well, you and I, we spend a lot of time editing, so you need something to keep you in the zone, and this does it for me at least.
Yeah, dude, 100%. They have 4 and 8 milligram strength differences for the breakers specifically. There's a wider range when it comes to the conventional pouches. They come in 4 and 8 milligram strengths and a bunch of different flavors. They have some of the classics like mint and mango. They also have berry, citrus, apple cider, apple ice, espresso, etc. I love the espresso. It's nice with the coffee in the morning. Real nice accompaniment.
Yeah, no one else is doing this.
Nobody else is doing it, dude. Lucy's the only company that's doing this sort of technology. And the proof is in the pudding, pal. Break up with your dusty gas station pouches and go to lucy.co/oops and use promo code oops to get 20% off of your first order. Lucy offers free shipping and has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. That's lucy.co and use code oops to get 20% off and always free shipping.
Here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine, and nicotine is an addictive chemical.
That it is. Dude, let's shift gears a little bit here. I'll say this. I've been taking some fitness classes. I don't know if you've heard of Solid Core.
I have.
We've talked about it on the pod before. It's tough. It's about as hard as a reformer class can be. I joked on a previous episode, like, if you can show me a person who can actually do the entire class, I'd be shocked. Without taking an adjustment, without taking a break. I think it's designed so that nobody can, but I would pay and go to the Solid Core Games, where the greatest Solid Core athletes in the world come together to compete and get scored on their performance. Both perfect technique, not taking breaks, whatever. The gymnastics of Solid Core.
What's a typical class?
I would
at
pay
Solid
to go
Core?
to that. I mean, it's like one of those reformer classes, but it'll just be fucking hard. So like, all right, get into a plank. That's how you start the class. You're in a plank. You're doing shit the whole plank, right? You do that for a minute. Then you progress into more plank stuff. So now you're doing the thing where like your knees come in while you're still in the same plank. the knees coming in. I forget even what it's called. You'll do like 4 minutes straight of suspended shit that nobody can do. Like, I'm sure people can, but like, that's how you start the class. And then everything is like that for the entire class. It's so hard. Now look, I'm not in incredible shape, so it's obviously affecting me more than it would affect somebody who's in extremely good shape. But like, it's so hard, dude, that I like need a nap after class. You know, like exercising can energize people. I need a nap. So anyway, it's fucking hard.
I bet it feels good though when you're done.
It's great. Yeah, it's like a great workout. But like, there's things about the class that I find funny. And I think that like fitness instructors suffer from this in general. They'll be like, how's everybody doing? And like, everybody's dying. So no one says anything. And the teacher will be like, okay, I'll try next class. And I'm like, dude, like, we're trying so hard. Like, why are you yelling at us for not replying? I'm dead. I can't talk. I can barely breathe. I want to say, yeah, it's good. But I'm like, ugh. You know what I mean?
She's just being sassy.
No, I know, but so many of the teachers do that it makes me think that they truly don't understand that the reason why we're not like, yeah, are you guys feeling good? What do you think? Should we keep going? Like, whatever it is you're saying, like, we are trying so hard that we like don't have it in us to yell back. I just want all the instructors out there listening to know. I will also say this, beware of male solid core instructors. They're slightly more sadistic for some reason. And the thing that crushes me too, it's like, you'll be getting absolutely murdered by this guy who's like, okay guys, like whatever. And then the guy starts singing along to the song, which somehow is like more offensive when there's a guy doing it, not to be sexist. But I'm sitting there absolutely dying and I just hear the guy dance by going, Disturbia. I'm like, dude, no.
Do they
No.
Do they break you up into smaller groups, or does the instructor kind of conduct everybody all at once?
You're all on your own reformer. So like,
What is a reformer?
It's like a Pilates machine. So like,
It's like that.
yep, the
moving
thing with
bench
the
thing?
thing with the little,
Got it.
the little whatever on it and the straps and all the machines, right?
Got it.
So that class is really hard, but all fitness instructors I've noticed do that, where they like are asking questions, and if they don't get the response from the audience they want, they think they're bombing. Like, it's like a comedian thing. The only difference is that it's way more straightforward with comedy. It's like, people are there to laugh. If they're not laughing, you think you're bombing. So people are silent laughers, and the comedians start taking it out on the audience. Maybe the comedian's right. Maybe the comedian's just bombing and it's his fault. I don't know. But with fitness, bro, we're dying. What makes you think we have it in us to reply? That's all I got to say. So if you want to take solid core, beware of the male instructors. That's all I'll say.
I've done a couple classes like that. I know you love the classes. Vic does classes all the time. She's always trying to get me to go with her. I'm just it's too daunting for me. I like the freedom of controlling my own workout, but I do know the benefit of having someone tell you to do something means you're going to give it like 100%. And there's like that, big brothers watching and the accountability the whole time. We did hot yoga once together. And that was it. I
hate
do that.
hot yoga,
I
personally.
didn't like it.
Hill Dog likes that.
Yeah.
I don't like
But
it.
Vic loves solid core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
She loves all those classes and stuff.
And dude, I don't know that it's the workout for you anyway, because you're trying to like bulk up, and I don't think it's more of like a shredded workout, which just seems like you don't need help with.
Vic is so sweet. She'll, cause I'm trying to bulk up, she'll try to recommend like little incremental things to help increase protein. And there was like a day where I was like, I did math. And it said to add like, I got to get like 30 more grams of protein in my system every single day. And she would recommend like using these like this pea collagen, and that adds about half a gram of protein. She's like, that'll get you to your goal.
Cute.
And not quite, but
Very sweet.
yeah, protein
31
propaganda.
grams, bro. That seems very attainable.
It is. But that's why I was saying, no, I got to eat an extra breast. Like, I got to eat a lot of meat.
Yeah.
As it's marketed to us as
Right.
such. 100%.
Well, dude, I have a question for you as we sort of wind down here. I'm thinking about age perception, and I'm curious about it because I remember, do you remember when you were a kid and somebody was a certain age, you thought that person was like old?
Yeah.
And I remember when I'd hear my parents talk about someone dying, they'd be like, oh my God, he was so young. He was like 65. And I was like, oh, that's fucking old. I was like, I thought you were going to say he was like 30. I'm like, that guy lived a full life. But as I get older and older, I start to think that way too. I'm like, oh, he's 70. He's young. Are you in touch at all with where you're at with that? Has that changed for you at all yet?
Where I'm at, or just
your age,
my
like,
reaction when I see things
when
like
you think
that?
about that, like, do you relate to that in any capacity?
Yeah, when I was in kindergarten, the seniors in high school came and
Dude.
they went to our art class and they made like a wooden boat. We painted boats with seniors in high school, and the guy that I was assigned to, I looked up at him and I thought he could have been someone's dad.
Dude, yeah,
Like
that was a grown-ass man.
I was like, you are a man.
Yep.
Like this guy has a job and wife and car and house. Like
It could have been
was-
me, dude.
Yeah, it could have
It
been.
may have been me.
And so kindergarten's 5. Well, that would have been
Age
yeah,
difference,
That guy
it almost works.
That guy was about 12, 13 years older than me. It is crazy. And then,
Crazy.
yeah, like 60s young, 70s
Right?
young,
Yeah.
even 80s young. My grandparents are in their early going into mid 90s. They're old, but like my grandpa's like with it.
Yeah.
Like, he's sharp. It seems like he's gotten sharper as he's gotten older.
rules.
So like,
I want that for myself.
yeah, I have learned, like, now that I'm getting closer to 30, like 30's young, 40's young.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing these famous people, you know, rest in peace. I can't name anyone specifically, but I saw a lot of obituaries on Christmas, and it was people in the age ranges of, you know, like 40 and 60. And it is young. And my mom says those things. Oh, he was so young. Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, you know, they do say time is relative. It's not a thing they say. It's a fact. Shout out to fucking old Bertie Einstein out there. But yeah, like I always used to, you hear that, you know, E equals MC squared, time is relative, whatever, but it like doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? To me, at least. The first time it meant anything to me was watching, what's that movie with Matthew McConaughey?
Interstellar?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where it was like, the concept is tangible for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's not possible because of technology or whatever, but like, this is what it means. And it's like, oh shit, that's crazy, dude. That literally, like, time is relative. Traveling quickly can usurp how quickly you age. That is real. That's fucked up.
It is fucked up. That was a very
Painful
powerful
to think about.
scene.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a crazy scene.
Yeah.
It's a sad fucking movie.
Yeah. It was incredible though.
It's an incredible movie.
Do you ever do this? I'll watch a movie or a TV show, and I would do this growing up. I'd see actors, and they would be, let's say Matt Damon is 25 in Saving Private Ryan. Let's just say he's 25. I would watch that movie 10 years ago, and I'd be like, oh my God, Matt Damon, he's so much older. Like it's totally fine for me to not do anything where I'll be like
Oh, yeah,
behind
yeah,
on
yeah,
TV
yeah,
or on the screen
Yes.
until I'm his age, because he's young and at that age. Now I'm getting to the age now where I'm watching movies and shows and I'm still having those thoughts to myself, but now I'm noticing, wait a minute, that guy's 25. I'm
Yeah.
almost 28. That guy's 20 and
I
he's
know.
done that many movies.
I know.
It's just something in the back of my mind that I think about, when 10 years ago it was a lot more
Yes.
positive, because like, you got so much time, right,
Dude,
guy?
I fully get it.
And now I'm like scrambling to find actors that started late. Like John Hamm lived out of his car
Yeah,
until
yeah.
Mad Men came out.
Samuel L. Jackson. It's
Was he
always
a late bloomer?
John Hamm and Samuel L. Jackson.
John Hamm.
The problem is that like these guys were already acting and stuff.
Yeah.
I think Samuel L. Jackson may have truly started late, like all of it, but like making it big and like having been working up until that point, like I've always seen it as, if I were just working at all, I've made it. You know what I mean? Like, which is something interesting about this job that's unique. It's like just doing the job means you've made it in some capacity.
Yeah.
You don't get to just do the job, which is a very frustrating element of it. But dude, I know exactly what you're talking about. You're 15 years old and like the best tennis player on earth is 19. You're like, whoa, like I have 4 more years. And suddenly, like, dude, my whole life, Nadal has been slightly younger than me. And that's been a really hard thing for me my entire life.
Interesting.
How unbelievably, like, how much of an achiever he has been compared to me. And that's insane to even be comparing myself to him in
But you
tennis
do,
or
but
in
you
life.
do, but you do.
And yeah, as time goes on, you have fewer and fewer people to compare yourself to.
Yeah.
Well, he made it when, you know, now it's for me, it's like comedians who like popped off slightly older. I'm like, oh, this person, that person, like, you know, and I remember thinking when I was 20, I was like, if I'm 30 and I haven't done this yet, I'm going to be really sad.
Yeah.
35 comes along, you're like, well,
Yeah.
this ain't that bad.
It's interesting, like in other industries like comedy, like that's fine. People come, they blow up at different ages, but like when you apply it to sports, like I remember being 20 and I'm watching the free agency in MLB and they're like, oh, you know, he's turning 31 next year. He's getting old. That's a bad contract. And then I'm like trying to apply myself. I'm like, if I were a free agent, like I would be really desired because I'm so youthful. Like Juan Soto, he's 26. He's going to get 440 next year.
Just for the year?
No, for
his
gonna,
deal.
When he gets a new deal, he's gonna get 440 for like 10, 12 years. That's whatever, because he's so young and he's 26 and I'm 28. And once you turn 30, the perception and the hype starts to dwindle a little bit. If he was turning 31 next year, the conversation would be different. And I associate myself with that time frame. I'm just like, oh, I don't want to be on the wrong side of that. Don't want to be on the wrong side of that. And I see these. I know the athletes in baseball that are like my age, and like they're aging. And I remember 5 years ago, they would talk so highly of them, the Christian Yelich's and everyone. And now they're starting to talk about, well, you know, he's injury prone. He's getting older now. That contract's not going to age well. And it is interesting. That's another age perception thing that I guess subconsciously I think about too.
Dude, it's a perfect tie-in. But it's true. And there's two things that makes me think of. First, being an athlete, man, is tough because you really do have a shelf life. Even if you're LeBron, you can spend $1 million a year on longevity. Like, he's not going to play forever. So it's like, are those your best moments? I know people are like, well, then I had kids and that was my greatest moment. Okay, fine, maybe, but bro, come on. Winning a championship had to be better than having a kid. Every person can have a kid. Well, not everybody. Sorry for those people who can't. But, you know, not everybody's going to have their fucking jersey hanging from the ceiling of whatever stadium, you know? So in that way, that's a thing that's just real. So I always feel bad for athletes in that capacity.
Yeah.
But that also makes me feel happy about comedy. And this is why. So, dude, I've been around now for like a couple different eras of the ways that things worked in comedy. There was like the conventional time of comedy. I started at the tail end of that, which is like development deals. Like people were going to Montreal and getting development deals still. That was still a thing. You know, there was a look. Letterman was the late night host. Like it was it, right? And you get on the late show and then maybe you tour and then you get big and maybe you get a special and whatever. But there's people who control your destiny. The second thing I experienced was like the diversity push, right? Suddenly the industry wanted all diverse people. So it's like, if you're a white dude, it's sort of like not a good time to be a white dude theoretically, unless you were like really young, really promising, whatever. And look, that's all excuses. There were plenty of white dudes who made it. I'm not using that as an excuse for myself. I just watched that time happen. So it was like, oh, you're ethnically ambiguous. That's what they say to me. I'm like, okay, cool. And then suddenly that didn't matter anymore. They didn't want ethnically ambiguous. They wanted to know the ethnicity, supposedly, right? So now that's what the industry was pushing for. Diversity, this, that, and all of those people sort of starting getting those opportunities. But now the third wave is happening, and that is a wave where if your social media shit is popping, or if you make stuff yourself and it's popping and people like it, there's nothing anybody can do to stop you. So that to me is a very encouraging time to be in, where it's like those previous two times, you didn't have control over your own destiny. Whether it was diversity push or not, the industry sort of decided who was going to be the people, and that was that. And now there's a way where you can defeat all that. The industry is still all going to be there, and they're going to decide, you know, we want young people, we want this, we want that. But being a dude who is, quote, approaching a thing where I'm over the hill to just be made into a star, I'd have to get lucky if it was like an industry thing. I'd have to get a role that sort of got picked up in popular culture. Whatever those things that would need to happen, I have more ways to make it work for myself now, theoretically. Now, I know Bill Burr said too, he's like, you know, sometimes as a comic, you either make it right away or you make it when you're in your 40s. Like that maybe has always been a thing to some degree, but I feel very encouraged, and I think you should too, where like there is no ticking clock on your success. It's just more about, I find the age thing being more about how much time you have to really pursue it. Your life goes on and suddenly your life starts to get heavier. You have a family, you have kids, your parents start getting older. You have things that take you out of the immersion that is required to make it. That is the thing that I find that is stopping people now, as opposed, and those are big obstacles, you know what I mean? But it's not about you're now old, you're washed up, nobody wants you, nobody cares about you. You get to write that narrative for yourself. So I think it's a very encouraging time to be coming up in. And for you, you definitely shouldn't be worrying about getting older. Just keep working hard, you know what I mean? Because for all you know, bro, you're going to lead a march on Washington about Chipotle legislation. You never know. So keep ripping it. And, to anybody out there in media or who's trying to pop off as a forward-facing person, there's no reason to think you can't do it. You just have to do it. Doing it is the thing.
Shia LaBeouf said it best.
Do it, learn from your mistakes, improve the approach, and it can be done. I really believe anybody can do it. So Here we are talking about it, and I think that's probably a good place to bring her home. So what do you think?
Sounds good. Yeah, we went everywhere today.
We did. This is
nice.
good. I'm a curious guy. I'm not trying to act like I know about any of this stuff, but this is just the things that I've heard, and I'm trying to make a decent opinion on them.
What's the name of that documentary that you mentioned on Netflix?
It is called You Are What You Eat, a Twin Experiment.
Cool.
You Are What You Eat, a Twin Experiment. It's fun, interesting, food for thought. Give it a watch. Let us know what's going on with you. We'd love to hear about your problems. If you need help with anything, if you have any stories for us.
And all the good stuff, too.
Good stuff, bad stuff, whatever it is you want to talk about, hit us up. We love chatting. We do it all the time. That's what we do here at Oops the Podcast. I'm at @NotJulioG on both Snapchat and TikTok as well. He is at Ryan is really polite.
Yep, on Instagram,
All
TikTok,
across.
Twitter, Ryan is polite. Somebody took the really
Mother effer.
But check it out. Check it out, guys.
Check us out. Come in, hang, spend time with us, sit on our laps, and let's chat. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for listening.